This week you will only have 3 lessons to do in unit for unemployment, which is unit 11, and you will do lessons 51, resumes, lesson 52, letters of application, and lesson 53, interview communication. Okay, so we'll start with your resumes. Be sure that you do open this under content and look at what your objectives are and what your grading will be for the week. So we'll start with a resume. And in this case, they have the resume all done in a table. And they will explain in the instructions how to do that. So I wanted to show you what it looks like. It doesn't look like it's in a table. The only line that's showing up is the border underneath the person's information. So it starts with their name, gives their important contact information, which you should also include an email these days. You want to be sure that you have an appropriate email. It should be something that's fairly professional. And notice in this one, the headings are in all caps, much like a memo, and then all of the data next to the headings is all in alignment at the left. And so in lesson 51, in lesson 51, that's all you'll do are resumes. In lesson 52, you'll do letters of application. When you send in a resume, you should have a cover letter, or sometimes known as a letter of application. In this unit, you will do block style as well as modified block style. This one is a modified block style with the tab being set at 3.25, like you see on my screen, for the date, the sincerely, and the person's name and their address. Because this is considered a personal business letter, it should include underneath the person's name their address, their mailing address. You'll also do some that are block style with everything at the left, and that's really the only difference between a modified block and a block style letter. So you just wouldn't have to set the tab in that case. And that's it for lesson 52. In lesson 53, you're just going to practice a table. Here's an interview schedule they've set up with 3 columns. Notice the column headings are centered and that they're bold. Notice the column widths are fairly narrow. We don't leave a lot of space between the columns, so you want to be sure to adjust your columns for a best fit. And it's centered on the page. If you've forgotten how to do that, you do that through your layout tab, and you can go to page setup, layout tab here, and center it on the page for vertical alignment. If you look at that in print preview, you'll see that the only borders are above and below the column headings and at the very bottom of the document. The rest does not show borders, even though it looks like they do here. And you can do that just by selecting that row and going up to borders and setting a border for above, bottom, and for top, which they have done. And then you would want to put your cursor in the bottom border and do the same thing and set a bottom border. And that's it for the table. And then the last assignment you'll do is a report. Reports should start at 2 inches or line 6. They also, for academic reports, should be double spaced, which this one is. You'll of course want to fill in this with the correct year. Notice there's no extra spacing. It's just double spaced between, but no extra spacing. So be sure when you first start up here, before you hit the return or anything else, be sure that you do change your paragraph spacing to 0 before and after, and to double spacing. The side headings are in all caps and bolded. You tab to indent the paragraphs since it's a double-spaced report. We also have footnotes, and you do not go down to the bottom to type those, but remember that you click here wherever it tells you to put a footnote in, and you would go to insert. Actually, we would go to references, and we would insert a footnote there. And then it would jump to the bottom. It'd put that number there for you, jump to the bottom, and place the number. Since the paragraphs are indented, you can also indent the footnotes, but you do not have to. Be sure you put page numbers on the second page, but not the first page. Notice it says different first page. That's so that it will not put the page number on the first page, but only on the second and succeeding pages. You also have a table that you've added to this report. Be sure you adjust the column widths and you follow the instructions for how they want the table. Should look similar to what you see on my screen. End of this video.